Torah, Parshat, page test, first column, like 10 lines to the top of the page. Okay, now the Rebbe is explaining that the Mayim Rabbim refers to Tiras HaParnasa that a person is busy with. So he says, how do you overcome this Mayim Rabbim of disturbances? By meditating that this whole, everything in the world is only malchus of a whole array of array of array of array. And even Olam Haba Gan Eden is only an array of the Shekhinah. And he says, there's no difference in Alukus. Basically, the whole world is nothing. There's an expression in Yiddish, ashpai yam, like a spit into the ocean doesn't add water to the ocean. I mean, it's so minimal, it's not going to do anything to the ocean. So the same thing, that Alukus, when you do a mitzvah, it's connected to the highest levels of Alukus. So he says, now, after meditating all of this, in the depths of the thinking, to say the nafsh's soul will be awakened, tremendous love and a burning desire, to leave the darkness and the concealment of Gashmias, to cling to Hashem. Like the Pasuk says, until immediately b'shamayim, v'im chalei chafatzti. Like the Rebbe used to say, I don't want your Gan Eden, I don't want your Olam Haba, like he says. So liyachbes klal lei b'Gan Eden ha'tachten lei b'Gan Eden ha'elyon. That the Jew really doesn't want not the lower Gan Eden, not the higher Gan Eden, which is only ziva hara bilvad, is only a ray of the Shekhinah. It's not even the Shekhinah level, which is Malchus. It's a ray of Shekhinah. Commandment is out tzaddikim yesh v'nanim is ziva Shekhinah. But what does the person want? Kim ledov k'bei yizbarach to cling to Hashem. L'chol b'chinas mohusi v'atzmosi yizbarach, to become one with the essence of Hashem, which is called in Zerah HaKodesh, l'ishtabah b'guf v'nemalka, to become like hugging, become one with the body of the king. And this ava is called tshuva. This ava has nothing to do with Averis again. This tshuva, this level of ava, that he's returning from the worldly gashmistic involvement, he's returning to a higher level of elokus. That's called tshuva, which bechele yatir, which a much stronger level of fear. Shabadav kemitech al cheshach, that can only come from through darkness. Sha'eisegrak binyani gashmi v'avle. Like there's an ayem yem, the Rabbi Rashab told one of his chassidim, Rabbi Lebeler, something like that, I am very jealous of you. He was a businessman. So you sit in the marketplace with everything going on there, and yet you meet the person, you tell him a Dvar Torah, you speak to him something, you encourage people. He says, people that Rabbi doesn't have that inyan. He's not dealing with business people too much to awaken them to a middle of business day to say a Dvar Torah. And that's why the Alter Rebbe explained at the beginning of the Maimer, the Mayim Rabbim lo yuchol lechabes so'ava. Not only can the flood waters of Parnasa Gashmias extinguish the love, but dafke through Mayim Rabbim, do you come to Meinoyach, do you come to a higher level of relationship with Hashem, because it's all coming from darkness. Not over darkness, but from darkness. This is b'chol me'idecha. Shubelig v'mamish, which is infinite. Sheva dafka min ha'hapach. It comes dafka from the opposite, which is the level of cheshach. Like it says in the pasuk at the end, at the end of creation, right before Sheni in Bereshis. Vayar Elokim es kol asher asa v'hinei tov ma'id. Hashem said everything made was tov ma'id. So the Medrash says tov is a malach hachayim. Tov ma'id is a malach hamavis. How could the malach hamavis be tov ma'id? So he's explaining shayidei ha'hepach v'acheshach dafke, which is nefesh abamis. Can you come to the level of b'chol me'idecha? To simplify it, Kedusha is Kedusha, evil is evil. Okay? So they're all identified of what they are. Right? This is good, this is bad. So normally you do good, you don't do bad. But in order to make bad good, you have to tap into a level, like we learned many times. You have to tap into a level that where good is not good and bad is not bad. Because if good is defined as good, then you can't make it bad. You can't make, once light becomes defined as light, it can't become dark. Once dark is defined as dark, then there's darkness, it can't be light. In order to, so normal or, bringing more or kedusha into the world, that's limited. You're just taking or, bringing more or into it. But when you want to take cheshech, and you want to make cheshech into or, what you're basically doing is tapping into a level which is higher than cheshech and or together, and then the cheshech becomes or. Because once it's identified and defined as or cheshech, it can't be moved. It is what it is. Like it says in Chassidus. In Gan Eden, you can't do tshuva in Gan Eden. Because Gan Eden is already defined. The levels of Ziv HaShechina is defined based on what it is. It is what it is. You can't change it. In this world, because it comes from a higher level, it's not Ziv HaShechina. It's Gashmis, which is created Yesh Mi'ayin. It's the essence of Hashem creating Gashmias. So dafka in this world, can you do tshuva? In other words, you can make bad into good, good into bad. It's all because in this world, nothing's defined yet, because it taps into a level of kedusha that's not definable. So this level, b'chol me'idecha, bli gvul, means you're tapping into a level that this gvul is not gvul, this gvul, and this gvul is not this gvul. So or is not or, cheshech is not cheshech, tev is not tev, ra is not ra, and that's it. So in order to become tev ma'oid, it has to dafka be the malach hamavis transformed to kedusha. What's your problem?
In Gan Eden you have levels.
Yeah, but it's all gradual ascents.
It's defined levels.
Yeah, but it's defined levels. You can't change one level into another level. You go in a certain pattern. That pattern is not changeable. A person in this world can have a pattern of evil, and in 1 second he transforms it to good. Now, how can that be? How can you take bad and make bad into good?
Change your balance.
So the answer is because tshuva taps in to a level which is higher than both. So in that level, good is not good, bad is not bad. Right? Like the kids say in the Bar Mitzvah, they call it Im chotasim atifel be'irabu shechem atasel im tzedaktim atitel me'amiyotcha yikach. You do it doesn't do anything. You do good, it doesn't mean anything. You do bad, it doesn't mean anything. It's a level higher than both. That's why the pasuk says, "Halayach Esav liYaakov." Our Esav not a brother. Halayach Esav liYaakov. Is the Esav not Yaakov's brother? And then the pasuk continues, "It's Yaakov after it's Esav Sanesi." Yaakov I loved and Esav I hate. So the beginning and the end of the pasuk are contradictory, because when you say Yaakov and Esav are brothers, that means they're equal by definition. Brothers means equal. Then all of a sudden, second half of the pasuk, you say, I hate Esav and I love Yaakov, so they're not equal. So this is two levels. There's a level of Elokus where Yaakov and Esav are equal, meaning good and bad are equal. It doesn't over there. It's not definable yet. Then once Yaakov and Esav become Yaakov and Esav, then they're defined. Esav is bad, so Hashem hates him, and Yaakov is good, so he loves him. So that's why the Rebbe is explaining, Dafke through Mayim Rabim, Dafke through the Cheshech, can you come to a level of Or? Because you're tapping, that's why it's Ma'ay Bligvul.
The level is Bria. Bria is not defined.
The world of Bria is defined. Well, the four worlds are basically defined.
So the go higher than forward.
Correct. Like Rabbi Rashab said, Kol ha-mitzvahs misyachsim alo atzmos. All mitzvahs are connected to the essence of Hashem.
So cannot change people?
No. Tikka could change Tehu.
So you have to reach above to.
Correct. And that's what a Jew, well, how could food sustain us if it's lower than us? Right? Sheish Yishyam couldn't go to Torah, right? So over there, the Alter Rebbe explains that because food down here is lower, it comes from a higher source. So when you reveal the source in the food, you're actually revealing the source of the food, which is Tehu, which is higher than Tikkun. Correct. That's why Asa was the B'chor, because Tehu is higher than Tikkun. But now things make sense. Why did Hashem make Esav the B'chor? Hashem knew Esav was rotten, so he could have made Yaakov born first and then finished. Even though Rashi says Yaakov in essence was conceived first. He says the birth is like a test tube, right? A tube. So what goes in first comes out last. So therefore, Yaakov was conceived first, and then Esav, in the passageway, so to speak, and therefore Esav comes out first. But really, Yaakov, in essence, was conceived first, because the purpose is Yaakov, not Esav. Because the kavan is dira b'tachtainim, not bo'el yainim. But then everything makes sense. Why? Like if Yana just in Chumash, Hashem did something a certain way, and because of that, things, so to speak, seemingly got messed up, and then you wonder, so what? Like Chassidus explains with Yaakov and Esav. Chassidus explains with Esav, Yaakov and Esav. Then Chassidus explains about Yosef and the brothers, and then Menashe and Ephraim. Yeah. If Ephraim is greater than Menashe, he should have been born first. So Chassidus explains, in order for Ephraim to be successful in Mitzrayim without getting corrupt, you need the Menashe, and you need to remember where you came from. You didn't need to connect it to the source. And that's why at the end of Vayishlach, when the pasuk says, Ve'em Malachim, Mamish at the end of Vayishlach, Ve'em Malachim Shemolchu Be'eretz Edom Lefnei Melach Melech Lefnei Yisrael. These are the king of Edom that ruled before there was a Jewish king, and there's 8 kings, Vayimlech Vayamas, Over there it means, that's the Shver Tekel of Tehu. It broke, died, lived, died. Right? So that's the same Indian. Shvira Tekel. But it's higher than Yaakov. Lifnei Melach Melech Lifnei Yisrael. What?
The answer that he gave, that Rabbi gives about why Menashe had to be first.
Yeah.
You have to, Hashem could have, Yosef could have made himself remember his father's home.
That's how he did by calling his kid Menashe.
So he could have put a name Menashe on his wall, on his watch. I'm just saying. It still doesn't answer why Menashe had to be first of all.
It did, because it had to come into Gashmis. It's not enough. A guy says to his wife, okay, I'm going to put our anniversary on the calendar. That's where it stops, and that's where it ends, starts and finishes, and I will never forget that it's on the calendar. It doesn't work like that. It has to come down into Gashmis. It had to be a physical Menashe born, to be a living, physical reminder of where he came from. Huh? Yeah, okay. So he says, why? Because Shadish Nefesh Habam is Kver Yosef Melchinas Nefesh Ulikis. Oh, he's calling this pasuk. Like it says, which is the level of nefesh ulikis. So in other words, Cheshech is higher than Or, Torah is higher than Tikkun, Yosef is higher than Yaakov. But Sheidei Shviras HaKelim Noflu L'mata L'mata, like it says, Vayimlech Vayosov Vayamos Avo B'Shorsham Heim L'mayla Mayla B'chinas Nefesh ulikis. But in essence, the nefesh of Bamis is higher than the nefesh of Lakis. Therefore, the malach of good is called Toiv, and the malach of Mavis is called Toiv Va'ed. It's the same level. Yaakov and Esav, good and bad, basically. Even when they fell down here, even though they fell low, but they have really the strength, because they originate in a much stronger place. Yes, them tagberes on nefesh ulikis. They have this power over the nefesh ulikis because their shoshim comes from melucha, which is the level of snasus. V'gam ha'adam mekabel chayis m'chinas beimes meicholim. A person also sustains himself from food which is lower than us. U'beladam ein yachol lachayis. And without eating those foods, we can't exist. Mashenke meicholim ein tzrichim ala'adam. The food doesn't need the people. Once the food is made, the food doesn't need the person to exist. It's interesting. We need food. The food doesn't need us. Once the food is there, it doesn't need us. We don't sustain the food. The food sustains us. Why is that? Because in the source, are much greater than the shamas. Therefore, they read this established nefesh ulikis nefesh abamis dafka. Dafka by the nefesh ulikis coming into the nefesh abamis. Lasik betir this machshavas parnasa, to be occupied with the troubles and thoughts of parnasa or vinyanim gashmi, which are called mayim rabim. Dafka, then can you come to the ava b'chol meidach? That's the only way when you meditate in what life is really all about. So then you're using the cheshech to make it into or, which is gligvo shamadrega yesig gavaya. This makes the neshama reach a level then higher than it was kedim iridasa beguf. Before, where was the neshama before it comes into the body? It's in Gan Eden. Gan Eden's only ziv hashchina. So now the neshama is coming down from ziv hashchina into a world of cheshech where it transforms cheshech to or, which is a much greater level. Dafka by breaking evil and transforming evil, which is when light comes from darkness. Why is it? Why is the light that comes from darkness a greater level of light? So he says, because darkness is a higher source than light. So when you make darkness into light, it's a much stronger light than light, because darkness comes from a higher place than light does. Therefore, like it said, Vayimlech Vayamas. You know, the Rabbi says it says, through his kafir becomes Tchis HaMesim. You know, the sparks of tail, the parts of Vayimlech Vayamas, they came all the way down into Klippa. So when a person utilizes that Mayim Rabim for Kedusha, so then he makes Tchis HaMesim that instead of Vayamas, it becomes alive again, the way it was L'mayla in the world of tail.